We've got a clutch here to start with off a Lotus Elise. So let's get this clutch off and let's get a UniClutch on. Take off our factory clutch. We're ready to install our UniClutch. Now, this UniClutch track core, it doesn't know what it wants to be yet. It doesn't know what car it wants to go into, but we want to fit it into a Lotus. So what we need is a fitting kit. Now there's a few fitting kits in the range and each one fits a load of different cars. So the 265 here that I've got today is the one that we need to put our track onto this flywheel and make this a UniClutch Lotus track. Now if we grab our flywheel mount and we put that straight onto the clutch like that, if we were to bolt that in the car like that with no spacing, that's an 11mm finger height. So what we need to do is we need to space it using these spacers by 23mm. So that's super easy. You can set up any spacing to suit your car. In the case of the Lotus, we want that 34 or 35. So because we're going to start with 11, we're going to raise that up by 23mm. So to get our 23mm, what we're going to do is grab this 18mm spacer and this 5mm spacer out of the kit. We put them together like that. We'll screw this down and that will give us our 23mm spacing, and we'll do that 6 times. Because we're going to have the Lotus on the track and we're going to be revving it really hard and having a load of fun, and the UniClutch track will take over 1,000 Nm of torque, we want to make sure the bolts don't come loose. So really important to use a thread locker like this Loctite 243 on all the bolts when you do them up. Okay, now our spacers are installed, we're ready to put on our flywheel mount. So we just place that as so, and then we get these bolts. Again, we use our thread locker on the bolts, then we assemble all 6 bolts into position. Okay, now we're going to torque down all of the bolts using our torque wrench to 30 Nm. Our UniClutch and our flywheel mount, unitized together, are super strong. In fact, more than 3 times stronger than the original Lotus clutch. Perfect for the high revving track use that we're going to do. Now let's get this onto the flywheel. Okay, before we put the clutch onto the flywheel, you see that the Lotus flywheel here has a small step on it. So we need to put a shim in place so that the flywheel mount will sit flat and it won't bend over this edge. Most flywheels don't need this, most are normally flat or recessed down, but because this has got a positive step facing up, we've just got to put those shims on. Okay, we're going to get our UniClutch track now onto our flywheel using dowel position C. Now the other positions on here for different cars, remember we've got different splines because this suits loads of different vehicles, but position C is what we need for our Lotus. So we just line that up with the factory dowels. Our finger height's right in the window where it needs to be, so our factory release bearing will be sitting at exactly the right place where it's expected in our Lotus, so the clutch will engage, disengage, and feel perfect exactly like factory. Now that process of setting it up takes a couple of minutes, but think about the time saving because you didn't have to get your flywheel machined. That surface would be wrecked after your worn Lotus clutch comes off. With the UniClutch, it's fully sealed. We don't use that as a friction surface, therefore you can just bolt the clutch on, save hours waiting for your flywheel to get machined, all that cost and all that wasted hoist time. Okay, so our Lotus is running its factory gearbox, so we're going to use the input shaft spline that suits that. Again, you've got lots of different choices. That's actually 32 in the range. So if you did an engine swap or a transmission swap in your vehicle, how easy, what a revolution the UniClutch is. So this is the right one. You see here, fits on the alignment tool that came with the original clutch. Also, you can check it on the transmission of your actual car. And we provide also some nice grease here. Use a little bit of that to make sure it runs perfectly on the input shaft. Now all we need to do is just drop that into the clutch, like that, and there you go. Just like that, our UniClutch track now suits our Lotus transmission, and we just hold it in with this circlip. We just pop that in place. In the final step, we get our pressure plate bolts that came off the original clutch, and we just torque those down to the OEM spec. And then we've transformed our original Lotus clutch into a track day monster.